Welcome to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association, created and hosted by speakers for speakers. As we count down to the new year, we're celebrating our top 10 episodes of 2025, packed with powerful insights to help you become a better speaker and build a better business. Before we dive in, here's a quick announcement. Speakernomics is getting a glow up. Launching in January 2026, we're coming back with a fresh format, dynamic new hosts, and a stellar lineup of subject matter experts. Click the link below to subscribe and download wherever you listen to podcasts. The stage is set. Let's tune in. Celebrating our second most popular 2025 episode, join us in celebrating the powerful insights from Sam Demma, CSP. And stop waiting for the phone to ring. Outreach strategies that book stages.
And who is this Canadian bachata dancer? Well, he's an author, a speaker, a TEDx two-timer, a CSP. Oh, but not just any CSP. He's the youngest certified speaking professional ever, earning his CSP in 2025. His work has been featured in many places and on many stages around the world, but most importantly, on his mom's Facebook page. Sam welcome to Speakernomics. How are you today?
Shark, that was the best introduction I've ever received. Can I take you on the road with you or what?
Absolutely. Now, to all my speaking friends, what are you doing to build momentum? You can put out some content, have a fancy website, make a few connections, and wait for the phone to ring. Well, good luck with that. Like any business, though, even the most successful ones, they don't just wait for the phone to ring. It takes outreach to let others know that you're a great speaker, and often more than just word of mouth. It's phone calls, emails, content, and more, whether it's from you or from your army of VAs. After all, how many businesses open up a storefront and just wait for customers to come? Most of those are businesses that are closing soon. Then what kind of outreach works to drive sales and is effective to help people want to book you once, twice, or even 700 plus times like our speaker today? The question is then, what's your sales playbook to help you score many more bookings to speak? And before we jump in, make sure to go to Speakernomics.com. That's where you can find the tips, insights, and knowledge to help you become a better speaker, build a better business, and get paid to speak. Sam, let's dive in. So break apart a little bit your market that you serve. You're doing a lot of the youth market, and you've landed a lot of gigs at a very young age.
The speaking market I serve, or we serve, we have a small team of 3 people, is the education space. My heart is with helping and supporting young people and the people that support them. So all of our events are with students and or staff and parents. And I started the work when I was still a student myself. My first keynote was, I shouldn't call it a keynote, it was a promotional talk in front of my high school. It was 3 minutes long, and it kickstarted what is now a 7-year journey that began in 2018.
So you're serving these markets, and how many gigs have you done to date?
We've done just over 750 paid events now.
Well, and talk about how that breakup is with, because I mean, you and I spoke about it earlier, the Canadian market where you live outside Toronto, and how much of that is in the States versus just in Canada.
One of my mentors told me you have to boil a pot of water before you can try boiling an ocean. Meaning serve one specific market to the best of your ability and use that heat to then spread to other markets or get other people curious about what that hot thing is that's going on over there in that small space. So I started by serving the province in which I lived, which is Ontario, and it slowly grew across Canada. And then I had to acquire an E1 visa to be able to serve schools and education institutions in the States. Today, there's about a 50-50 split between Canada and the United States, with the United States actually quickly taking over. I'm doing a lot more work over the border now. The market itself is about 60% high schools, 40% college and university, with a handful of corporate events that are purely through word of mouth, but I am not marketing toward the corporate market at all. And unless it's a really good fit and they see the value in what I'm sharing, I'll hand it off to a friend.
And how have you seen over that 7-year period? Because like any, the market, the high schools really and the colleges, there's some that are going out of business, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a little more stable environment to some degree, except that a lot of the budgets have shifted. So talk about what you've seen occur over the last 7 years with how the markets have really changed from a financial standpoint as well.
The things that clients value get booked. That's the thing that I've kept front and center, top of mind throughout my entire career. And it's because I had a conversation with a gentleman named Tom Stoyan, also known as Canada's sales coach. And he's Hall of Fame CSP as well. And he is actually responsible for kickstarting the CAPS Association, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, with a couple buddies back in the day. And I'd bring challenges to him and I'd say, Tom, they told me they don't have a budget. And he would always say, Sam, it's never a budget issue. It's always a value issue. How could you provide more value? And every time I've hit that wall where I felt, well, schools can't afford to pay my fee, instead of asking that question, I started asking, how can I be more valuable to the people I'm trying to serve? And it's enabled me to get to a place in my business where some of our clients are paying a lot more than what other folks think is possible in the education space. And so I would acknowledge your question in saying that the budgets have definitely changed. There are lots of schools that are closing down, and there are even institutions that are reducing their staff. But if you can find a way to create a product that they need and they want, and become a person that they like, there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, great point. So you went to your first influence in 2023.
Yeah.
And you immediately went to go apply for your CSP, and then you waited. Talk about doing that where you could have been even younger getting your CSP, but you needed to wait another year.
I needed the 5 years. I started officially in the business in 2019. Before that, the first 2 years, 2018 and 2017, I was voluntarily speaking. I did the most popular circuit on the planet, the Rotary Club circuit. That's where I got my initial start doing free speeches and practicing material. The CSP process was greatly influenced by a few of my colleagues at CAPS who kept saying, Sam, you could inspire so many people if you decide to do this now because you're a young guy. It's worthwhile. It's worthwhile, especially in the industry. And so I started the paperwork. And I think for people listening to this who aspire to finish or complete that paperwork and work towards earning the CSP, there's a few things I would keep top of mind. Number one, success leaves clues. Don't be afraid to reach out to the other CSPs who've already earned them and ask questions. But more importantly, to build a business that will allow you to earn the CSP. Sometimes I think we put too much focus on awards and recognition without recognizing that they are a byproduct of excellence. I said this to a friend recently. We don't eat food because we want to use the bathroom. Like, using the bathroom is just a byproduct of eating food. Well, earning a CSP or a Hall of Fame or CAVIT, these are byproducts of being excellent at what we do on stage. And so hire a coach. Hire someone who can help you grow a business that is worth earning some of these awards. So success leaves clues. Talk to those who can help you. Number two, track your important metrics. Keep a spreadsheet. If you haven't already started, keep a spreadsheet of number of calls booked, number of calls closed, number of proposals sent. Just tracking the basic metrics in a business are so important, but so overlooked. It'll help you find leverage and figure out where to add more energy and maybe defer or delegate things that aren't working or even delete them. And then the third thing I would say is make sure you practice. Like any profession, doing a good job takes practice. And I feel there's been times in my career where I was only practicing when I had a paid engagement coming up. But there is no professional athlete on this planet that only practices the day before their game. They practice all year long, so when they show up on game day, they deliver, not just deliver, but over-deliver. And I think earning a CSP requires the same amount of intention as being a professional athlete.
Well, I'm not sure that the bathroom analogy will be in their marketing material. However, that was a very good save on the back end of the value and great lessons there. So talk about your outreach, because I think I told you that I had heard you once talk about your outreach. You've to get to these 700 gigs, you spent a lot of time with outreach and really focusing on how to connect with people. So let people know how you went about finding the people, finding the gigs, finding and connecting with each one of them?
You and I talked very briefly before recording this and agreed that one of the biggest challenges most speakers face, whether they want to share it or not, is not enough bookings. And the first 3 to 4 years of my career, that was the big problem I was facing myself. And I found great inspiration from Jim Rohn, who used to be an NSA member. I didn't know about that at the time. He's passed away now, but he's one of my greatest influences. And he had this YouTube video about 3 steps to sales success. And the first one was shake more hands, talk to more people. And then you mentioned to me that was Dr. Willie Jolly's strategy as well, you know? And he's Hall of Fame, Cavett Award winner, and he's still saying, shake more hands and talk to more people. And when no one knows who you are, the most important thing you can do with your time is have conversations with potential clients. I realized that around year 2 and year 3, but I found that everyone was reaching out to prospects the exact same way. They were sending emails or they were sending them stuff in the mail, and people's inboxes and mailboxes are crowded with the same speaker one sheets and marketing materials that everybody else is choosing to send. And I was very fortunate that I had a mentor named Chris who said, Sam, when they zig, you want to zag. You want to show up in a different way. And he introduced me to this tool called Vidyard. It's a video email tool that allows you to embed a video email within your emails. And I started filming 30 to 40 videos a day with a whiteboard, and I'd write the person's first name on it, and I'd hold it up in the first 3 to 4 seconds of my video email. And I would pitch myself in these videos. And the goal was to try and get people on a Zoom call. And people would think, oh, I had a new strategy. It's brilliant. I'm going to use it. And within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to book speeches. No, like it's a long game. I spent an entire year filming over 1,000 videos, you know, and I ended up with 30 low paying gigs that year. But it taught me something really important, that there are levers in our businesses that if we learn about and push, a result occurs. And I think that video email is one of those things.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because as I was telling you too, I've got a friend that I heard say not that long ago that they had a great speech. They weren't getting booked enough. They just knew that once people came to see them, that they were going to see how great they were on stage. And I've heard that conversation 1,000 times. And I come from a performance marketing and sales background. So for me, we were never, especially in the Fortune 200 that I was working with over the years, nobody was waiting on the phone to ring. And so I think part of that comes with some humility or just some really good VAs, is that you gotta generate a little noise to get the phone to ring. So do you do that still today and to keep that momentum going? Because there's one thing telling everybody you've gotten 750 gigs over time, and then there's what happens to a lot of people is they get a little bit lazy.
I think that there are 2 main problems in the speaking business. The first is not enough leads, and the second is not a solid enough customer journey or sales process that turns those leads into potential clients. And so if you're blessed to not have the lead problem, then you can just focus on sales. But if you have both, you know, the conversation of generating new leads is most important. If you have no leads, it doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are. And so for me, we have invested so much time and energy in the outreach. To answer your question, I still do 5 daily opens. That's what I call them. Sometimes it's video emails. Sometimes it's sending people messages on social media. But these days, we've actually diverted a lot of our time, attention, and focus into social media. So we, as a company, put out 2 videos a day across every single social platform. And our last 20 bookings have come from videos we've shared online. And about a year ago, that whole concept would be foreign to me. And I would have told you were crazy if you told me that was a possibility. But I had a mentor who told me, Sam, every single goal you have sits on the other side of expanded reach and reputation. And if you can find a way to reach more people and build a strong reputation, all the other goals will take care of themselves. So we've actually now continued to do a combination of video, email outreach, very consistent sharing on all social platforms with the goal of trying to create viral content that reaches new customers. And then the back end is having a very bulletproof, value-first sales process that genuinely helps the client and encourages them to want to work with you. And it was a sales process that I've developed over the past couple of years, and one that I'm very proud of and happy to talk about.
Well, so before we get to that part, I want to ask you on the videos that you're doing for social, are you doing them? Because I know we've connected and chatted through Instagram, but are you doing them? You said, are you doing them on LinkedIn as well? Or are you doing it? Do you have a specific goal where most of them are LinkedIn and most of them are on Instagram? Or are they all across the board and you're posting the same ones everywhere? Kind of walk through, at least from a channel standpoint, what you're talking about. Because obviously meeting planners in the corporate world, maybe they look more on, a LinkedIn, for example, versus meeting planner for a high school or college. You may look more on Instagram or TikTok.
What a fascinating experience we've had with social media over the past months. So I had, and I share these numbers just to be open and give people the full scope of what's happening in the back end of our business to be helpful. Across all platforms, back May 1st, 2025, we had about 18,000 followers in total. And followers is a vanity metric. It doesn't turn into business opportunities. You should never buy followers, like all that stuff. Don't waste your time. But if you can organically grow an audience, unique things happen on the back end. So we went from 18,000 across all platforms to just under 400,000. So, we have over 100 on Instagram. We have over 100 on TikTok, about 92,000 on YouTube. And we got a corporate booking internationally in Vietnam from a client watching a TikTok. And I was like, this is fascinating. Corporate COO is watching TikTok? And so we took away all assumptions over platforms and said, if we're going to create a piece of content, there's no downside to posting it across all platforms. So we currently create one reel, and we'll put it on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, LinkedIn Reels, because they now have short form optimized, and Twitter. We don't do a great job with Twitter. That's the one platform we got to improve at as a team. But all our content goes across all platforms, and we've had outreach from all different style of clients across all the platforms.
Your content, what kind of content is it? Is it you talking about, is it cutting up your speech, or is it you talking about how Canadian maple syrup is the greatest maple syrup on the planet, or just random thoughts?
Yeah.
Is it the Gary Vaynerchuk where you just talk about everything, or is it specifically you on stage all the time? Or, what flavors is it, if you will?
This is a phenomenal question. If you want to book more speeches, post more videos of you speaking. If you want to book more lawn cutting engagements, post more videos of you cutting grass. So all attention is not created equal. If you get a viral video for doing a funny walk, and this happened to me, it was called the Riz Walk, and it was this catchy thing with students, and every time I posted it, I get a few million views. It led to 0 bookings. There was no bookings. It was vanity metrics, it was attention, and it did absolutely nothing for my speaking business. The moment I started posting what I wanted more of, and that's the big idea, once a few of those went viral, it led to inbound requests. So right now we have 3 formats as a company. We have on-stage speaking clips, which also requires me to travel with a camera bag because I don't outsource the filming. I just set up a simple 4K camera at the back of the room. It's all you need to do. It doesn't have to be very difficult. So speaking clips. The second is interactions with the audience. So I move this camera after the speech to the side and catch 90-degree footage of me speaking to the audience members and them asking questions and me answering their questions. And then the third style of content is podcast clips, having a camera filming the podcast interviews I do. Those are our 3 formats, and we bounce between those 3 formats and have found that whatever you want more of is what you should share with the world.
Well, one of the things that I'm dying to jump in on, and that was great advice, but one of the things I'm dying to jump in on as well is, there is, I don't care if it's 100 gigs at 20,000 pineapples or 500 gigs at 1,000 pineapples. One of the things, at least with as many repetitions as you've created a really good sales process that I want you to share a lot the next few minutes with, to let people know how to make their sales processes better. So tell us what your sales playbook is, because when you've done for anybody that's done 1,000,000 of these or 700 plus of these, that's 700 sales conversations that you've had with people. And that does bring a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of repetition, a lot of what you get to learn, what works and what doesn't. So dive in a little bit about what your sales process and sales playbook is.
I will say that we close somewhere between 30 to 40%. And I think that's a good benchmark if you're tracking the amount of sales calls you're having. If you're closing more than 40, you might be pricing yourself a little too low, and there's opportunity to increase your fees. And if you're closing less than that, you might be pricing yourself too high or need to improve your sales process. But if we use that math, that means 30% has been what I've booked. There's another 70% I didn't book. So we've done a couple thousand sales conversations, and we record all of them. So it's all recorded as a company. You can watch them back to try and improve the process. I want to keep this as practical as possible. So I'll dive into some of the things that I think would be helpful to you listening to this right now. But if you're enjoying this conversation and you want like a full 14-page document that outlines all the stuff, if you send me a direct message on Instagram, Sam_Demma with the words NSA in all capital letters, I will just send you the document. There's no opt-in. You can have it and use it in any way that would help your business. The sales process, there are 3 parts to it: pre-call, during the call, and post-call. Most people just think about the call itself, which leads to a big missed opportunity. There are things you can do before the call begins to increase the chances that they'll turn into a speaking client of yours. What could you do pre-call? Number 1, stalk the potential client. Go and look at who they had last year. If they have social profiles, go and look at what they care about. There's been times where I've done pre-call research on the client who reached out and found out that we had mutual connections, that they hired a friend of mine. And this is all information that you can mention during the sales conversation in unique ways that show that you've done your research. You have no idea how 5 minutes of research can totally blow the mind of a potential prospect. So doing your research before the call begins. The second thing we do is find relevant case studies. If you know it's a conversation with a high school in New Jersey, go look through your past events and see if you've spoken at a couple other high schools in New Jersey and write down some information about those schools, so that when you get to the point in your sales call where they ask about the investment or they ask about the actual speech, you can say, hey, the challenges you mentioned sound so similar to Shark from New Jersey High School. We spoke there 4 months ago, and this is what we did for them. It builds instant credibility if you can mention during your call relevant case studies to that specific client. So we actually outline those case studies before the call begins. And then the third thing I do is change my state. A big portion of sales is your certainty. You are sharing your certainty with the client. And one of the ways that we do that is by doing a couple push-ups. But anything to move your body very quick before the sales call is very important. So we do research, we gather case studies, and we get in a better state. During the call, it's about being a doctor. It's about diagnosing and asking questions. It's not about talking about ourselves. And so we have a whole process of questions that we follow. But the overarching philosophy here is be a doctor. You would never walk into a doctor's office and them just tell you, oh, your knee's hurting, you need to take this pill. You would ask, when did your knee start hurting? How long have you had this knee pain? What was the activity you were doing that led to the knee pain? Have you done anything else to try and solve the knee problem? Are you taking any medications right now to try and solve the knee problem? Have you done physio or massage or acupuncture? And only after asking all those questions will the doctor say, based on what you're telling me, I think this will serve you and help you. And I think when I reflect on my initial sales conversations that went really poorly, I was speaking 80% of the time and they were speaking barely at all because I was shoving all this information down their throats, when what I should have been doing is listening, taking notes, repeating back what they're telling me to make sure that I understand what they're saying. And only after maybe 20, 30 minutes of diagnosing their situation should I make a recommendation based on what I've learned. That's the big idea during the call. And of course, we have a list of questions in that sales playbook. The final third of the process is post-call. What do we do after the call ends? Well, we send the client a beautiful proposal, whether they ask for it or not, that recaps all the information we shared during the conversation. And we put a special gift for them in the mail. And this mail gift is probably the biggest actionable takeaway anyone can use leaving this call. We send a book, because I do have a book, but if you don't have a book, it could be a handwritten note. And the reason this is so impactful is because we follow a rule called no follow-up. We don't actually follow up with the client after the sales conversation. Instead, they get a package 2 weeks later with a handwritten thank you note that serves as the follow-up without sounding like you want their money or need the deal to close. And that's been responsible for closing more deals than I can count or talk about during this call. And then, of course, we update where they are in our CRM. And yeah, those are the 3 phases of the sales conversation. Very high level, quick overview, and some ideas that I hope you can implement right after you turn off this podcast.
That's great. I think the 4th thing you left off, you've been in Canadian healthcare too long. Our 4th conversation is about arguing with the insurance company. We won't cover everything here. So that was great. And I would encourage everybody, because I did reach out to Sam a while back, and he sent me the sales playbook. It's definitely worth taking a look. So a question I want to ask you comes from a previous guest. What's a moment in your life when a no, N-O, turned into a new opportunity?
Oh man, what a question. There was a speaker that I wanted to interview on my first podcast. When I began speaking, I started a show called The High Performing Student, and it was aimed at helping young people work on their personal development. And there was a keynote speaker and author named Dr. Ivan Joseph. He's very famous for speaking on goal setting and self-development. And I wanted to interview him because he's from Toronto. And I reached out to him and his assistant, who happened to be his partner at the time. And she kindly got back to me and said, no, we're not interested. Dr. Ivan is very busy right now. We can't make time for this. In some areas in life, no means no. And we're mature enough to know what those things are. And when we get told no, we walk away. But when it comes to business or a goal or a personal dream you have, no is almost always an opportunity to get more creative. And so I went back from that email string and I built a web page on my website that was samdemma.com/Dr. Ivan Joseph. The page is no longer there because we changed website hosting and some pages got deleted. But I have a screenshot of it. So if anyone wants to see it, they can send me a message and I'll actually show you the image. But I put a picture of Dr. Ivan Joseph on it. I put a description of what the podcast would be about. I put a thumbnail we'd use to promote it on YouTube. So we created all these assets, even though he said no. And then I reached back out to him and his partner, the assistant, with a video email explaining why I thought it would be beneficial for him and his company to be on our show that was reaching, thousands of young people at the time. And I shared in the video that I also built this webpage just to show them how excited I am about doing this and how serious I was about promoting it. And they must have watched the thing 10 or 15 times because the video software we use shows you how many views it's had. And they responded back right away. Mind's blown, and I ended up recording the podcast, and the episode's still out there if you search his name and my name side by side. But that was a very unique situation where no turned into something more than just a rejection.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I still marvel about the videos you send to meeting planners and like that when you did to Ivan Joseph, who I've seen speak before. He's great. It's amazing how many people will create videos for people just to scream about on social media, but they don't take the time to do it, to make them personalized to meeting planners, event professionals, or just people you want to connect with, like even for a podcast. I've been doing that for years. I don't do hard, as you commented about, I don't do nearly enough stuff on social, but I've used Vidyard and Loom and Bonjoro and several of them before. I love all those platforms to do it. So what is a question that you would like to ask a future guest on Speakernomics?
I just finished reading a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. And the concept is that if you shoot for a 10X goal, something 10X bigger than where you are right now, it forces you to change 80% of what you're doing on your calendar, because doing more of what you've done is not going to get you 10 times what you're currently getting. It might get you 2 times or at most 3 times before you burn out. And so my question with that framework in mind is for the next guest, what is something you could be doing to 10X your results, but you're not because you're scared of letting go of what's already on your calendar?
Great. That's fantastic. All right. Well, let's do a quick recap then based on Sam's fantastic Canadian advice. Number 1, serve the audience you serve well. Boil the pot of water before you try to boil the ocean. He started local in Canada in his market and worked to dominate that area before expanding. And to do that, understand that the market Remember his quote, to serve your clients, because this works well in almost any economy, the things that clients value get booked. They'll find a way. Number 2, CSPs are a great resource to help you grow your business. Success leaves clues. It's not just the award. Talk to those that can help you measure what matters and practice your craft. Number 3, so many people admit to me all the time about not having enough gigs. Don't just do outreach though. Reach out in a different way. Sam used Vidyo to film a lot of videos and send that content to meeting planners and event professionals to get to calls. He filmed 1,000 plus videos to get 30 plus gigs his first year. But don't get lazy. He still does 5 daily opens and a lot more social media content with 2 videos a day, video, email, outreach, social content, and a sales process to button it up. And his video is speaking clips, interacting with the audience, and podcast clips. Number 4, use the sales volume you have, track your close metrics, and think pre-call, during the call, and post-call. Use all 3 to increase the chances. Research your client and who they had before. Shows them that you've done the research. Find relevant case studies where something you've done applies to them. Change your state of energy. Get in a better state. Get the energy ready for that conversation. Then diagnose like a doctor. With post-call, Sam and his team send a beautiful proposal with a special gift in the mail. He sends a book, a note, or something like that, just to let them know their connection and a relationship go forward. And number 5, I love this because he brought up the end. No is just an opportunity to be more creative. That's fantastic. Sam, I'm looking forward to seeing you again at another Influencer Thrive. Any last closing thoughts before we speak ourselves off this stage?
Shark, you're phenomenal at what you do. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share and serve, and I can't wait to cross paths again.
Absolutely. Well, friends, make sure to join us, and thank you. Friends, make sure to join us at Speakernomics.com and let your voice be heard. I'm Kenneth Shark Kinney, your host of the National Speakers Association's podcast, Speakernomics, and this has been another fantastic episode of the show. Thank you, Sam, for your service to NSA and for lending your voice to the show. And to everyone listening, thank you for the privilege of your time. And remember, Speakernomics is a podcast where you'll learn to speak, get paid, repeat.
Thank you for listening to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. Interested in taking your speaking career to the next level? If you'd like more information on becoming a member of the National Speakers Association, just click the link in the description below. And don't miss your chance to attend NSA's Thrive Conference in New Orleans this February 2026. It's the ultimate event to gain exclusive insights and practical skills from top industry leaders. That link is in the description too. We'll see you there.